All right, so today we are going to talk about the motor on the 24 Tacoma. This is the TRD off-road, 4x4 of course, and 8-speed trans, which is factory, and the 2.4. So let's talk about it. So for those who don't know, the specs on this thing are 278 horsepower, 317 foot-pounds of torque. This is the non-hybrid version, so there is no additional battery, which that creates more horsepower and blah, blah, blah. I chose this model for a specific reason, and I didn't want the battery, and I wanted the tow capacity, which is higher on this at 6,500 pounds versus the hybrid, which is 6,000 pounds. Not that I use that 6,500 pounds, which my camper is only 4,000 pounds, but I wanted the higher, and I didn't want to deal with the hybrid battery version of this. So like I said, this thing does have a tow capacity of 6,500 pounds. The most I've towed with it is probably about 4,300 pounds, which is the weight of my camper, and it tows it effortlessly. I mean, the combination of this engine, the 8-speed transmission, and the tow haul mode, which changes shift patterns and all that good stuff, it's really nice. This thing doesn't scream when you're trying to go up hills, and I live in a hill country area, so it definitely handles the trailer very well, especially compared to the 4Runner, which is the older 4-liter. I say older, it's not that old, but the way those things are is they scream when you're going uphill. So higher PMs anytime you hit a hill or you're doing anything. Outside of the engine, my one complaint with this truck towing, and it's not really that big of a deal, is the rear has coils versus the old school leaves. So that's not a deal breaker for me, but the power plant itself, it's phenomenal, and it runs great, works great. When you're not towing, this thing moves effortlessly. When you're towing, of course you have a trailer hooked behind your truck, so you have to be aware of your surroundings and all that good stuff, but this thing tows effortlessly. I mean, you can go 70 miles an hour, maintain that speed with little effort, no engine screaming, none of that. So I've had this truck probably about 6 months, and one thing I really did like about it was that the mileage on this thing was supposed to be pretty good. So you're supposed to get 20 to 23 miles per gallon combined. That's city and highway. It has an eco mode and a sport mode. I rode full tank on eco and did a road trip, and the best I saw was 19.8 according to the little gauge that shows your mileage. That's the best I could get out of it, and I didn't drive it hard. I pretty much drove moderate the whole time. So mileage might be a little on the low end. I don't really have numbers for towing yet as far as fuel mileage, but I'm guessing you're not losing a horrible amount. I'm guessing this thing will probably be about 15 or 16 miles to the gallon towing if you're on the highway. If you're doing a lot of stop and go, that will vary. So of course, you know, this is 2.4 turbo motor. So you have your turbo down here, and you have your injection system up here. And the thing with this motor is it is a little clanky diesel sounding 4-cylinder motor. So it's rather loud, and a lot of that is due to this injection system. So it cycles, and when it cycles, you can hear it. When the hood's closed, you can't hear it as bad, but if you have your hood open, you can definitely hear it. So it doesn't bother me that much, but that is something people need to know, is that these trucks are a little noisy compared to the V6s and stuff. The V6s had a lot of valve train noise, and you know, they were just a louder motor in general. But these are loud for a 4-cylinder just because of the injection system and all that other stuff. So the fuel system makes it a little louder, and it just sounds it sounds like a little diesel. That's the best way to describe it. But like I said, for me, not a deal breaker, and really can't complain. All right, so in the last thing we're going to talk about with this motor in this truck is if you've got to work on something, everything is pretty easily accessible. It's crazy how much room is in this truck. Of course, it went from a bigger V6 to a 2.4, but if you got to change the alternator, it's right there. There's not much to move out of the way. If you got to change spark plugs, they're right on top. Coil packs, of course, they're right on top. The turbo, there's plenty of room if you ever had to do anything down here with the turbo. So, I mean, working on this thing should be relatively easy, I would presume. And let's hope that's something that won't happen for a long time, because so far they're having pretty good luck with reliability of this motor, and it has been out in the Lexuses for a couple years. There's just different variants on this motor. But the one thing with this power plant, if you're talking engine and transmission, is that the transmission is still unknown for a lot of people on the reliability of it. If you look on the Toyota forums, there has been a few instances where people have had transmission problems, and it's very few. It's not enough to categorize the whole community that own the 24s and 25s. I've had this for over 4,000 miles, and I've had no issues. Even towing, it shifts just like it should. So no issues there. So to end this video, overall, I would say the power plant is phenomenal in this truck. A lot of people were skeptical about the move from a V6 to a 4-cylinder motor. Me personally, that's one of the reasons I chose the truck, was that they made a move to a turbo power plant. Coming from the last generation 4Runner, I thought that the turbo upgrade was going to be a phenomenal upgrade, and after owning it, I still feel that it is a phenomenal upgrade for this generation truck. So if you have any questions on this motor, or you're thinking about buying a Tacoma, or even the 4Runner now, since they roll with this power plant as well, drop it below. Let me know. If you've ever had good or bad experiences with this motor, you can drop that below as well, just to let people know who watched this video. But that's going to end it. Like I said, love the motor, love the truck. So far, so good. Everything has been great with this, especially the drivability of it and towing.